Honey Lemon Soda, 12 episode school romance and manga adaptation, and a beautiful love story about self growth. Now, we have our female lead, Ishimori, who sadly was being bullied in middle school, being called stony because she's really stiff when she's trying to talk or is around other people, and being ignored, taking her shoes from her lockers and throwing them into the trash, vandalizing her desk, her property. It's not it's not a easy scene to watch, and it's not also not easy no matter in which stage of life you're in. But she was while walking through the streets, she stumbled to our male lead, Kai, who says some kind words to her, tell her, hey, if you're undecided in which high school you're going to, you can go to this one because this is the one that I'm going to. And she being very touched by his kind words, she decides, okay, let me go to the same high school as him, where she was able to have a more happier school life, being able to make friends, being able to do some self growth, really coming out of her shell, being able to express her feelings more openly, and uh, and even finding love along the way. Now that's the general plot of this anime. Now to my opinions about it. Now, this one, I don't know if it's just me because I don't read forums or anything like that to see other people's opinion. But the way the story was structured and the way that many characters' facial, the way they were, the character, sorry, the character models, their face, they really reminded me of another manga or anime, whichever you saw first, called Kimi ni Todoke. No, I don't know, and yes, it gave me a strong feelings of that manga or anime. So I went to search if there was any connection. Maybe the it was the same manga, sorry, the same mangaka, or maybe if it was that, okay, the mangaka of Kimi no Todoke was brought over to do the art and illustration for this anime, and I couldn't find any relationship between the two properties. So the only thing that I can conclude of is that the person, the mangaka that did Honey Lemon Soda, just was very heavily inspired by Kimi ni Todoke, or maybe another of the works that mangaka did. But yes, it gave me a strong feeling. So if you're somebody that like Kimi ni Todoke, you might like this one. Now, the other thing that I'm going to touch upon is that the male lead, Kai, honestly, I wasn't feeling his character for the first, I would say for the first episode and the first half of the second episode. I wasn't feeling his character. He was giving me heavy flashback to the type of romance protagonist that I hate. That is rude, distant, unpleasant, and simply an awful person. But because he's super good looking and or he says a kind word, or he does a kind action towards the female lead once in a blue moon, oh, then we are just supposed to go and want the two of them to end up together by the end of the manga or light novel, whatever. I have never liked that type of protagonist. Not when I was a child, not now. Seriously, I last year on Netflix they did an adaptation of one of those exact manga, a live action adaptation, and I said, let me give it another chance. Maybe I just was missing something back then. I only lasted 3 episodes. Seriously, I just simply couldn't stand that type of love interest, main character. So yes, I got reminded all over again just why I don't like it. Seriously. But Kai, by the I would say by the third episode onwards, you do get to see more of his personality, and that the rough way that he was speaking in the first episode and part of the second episode, you could see that he was saying that for Ishimori's benefit, because he wants her to, like I said, to do some self growth, to be able to handle herself in certain situations that she doesn't have to depend on him all the time. So yes, you could say that from the third episode onward, you could properly feel the kindness in his words, or properly understand his actions when he says something, or he does something. So yes, I would say that from and you, by the end of it all, he was very charming. I would say that he was, I would say the opposite. Instead of the whole being rude and kind and being only kind towards the family once in a blue moon, he was very much kind towards her much more often. Instead of a blue moon, he was every other day. I don't know. I the way I said it doesn't sound right, but it's just the way he speaks in a very rough way that might make a third person from the outside perspective misunderstand, like I did from the first and second episode. But what I'm trying to say is that he pull through, and he does become a likable male lead romance interest. Now, another thing that I wish to touch upon that seriously is a little bit, it's not a negative, but it's very annoying. Does nobody hell in this school has their an understanding of respecting other people's privacy? Seriously, there's another character, not necessarily a third wheel, because for not even a moment did I thought that the two of them were going to end up together, or a third a love triangle, I would say. But seriously, apparently, he, Kai, and that other person, Serena, they dated in middle school. People found out, and they seriously started digging. And instead of digging privately, no, they just went up to his face saying, "Hey, why did you break up? Who initiated what? Who asked out which person asked out which in the beginning?" Seriously, they have. I know that they were saying it jokingly, but from my point of view, that just came out as completely rude and inappropriate. Seriously, if it was just one episode, it would be one thing, but no, episode after episode after episode, you will see people just coming over to Sky or to Serena, and just trying to squeeze information from either one of them, and they just won't let up. Seriously, they have to. It just, I know that from, to them it was just joking around, trying to left along with their pal or something, or trying to quench their curiosity. But it just came out as simply rude. They have to get their own love life. Now, the animation on this anime was very well done. I do like the bright colors, facial expression, whether it be the regular facial structure or the very cartoony structure that Ishimori does in once in a while in every episode, which is very cute and adorable. But sadly, I have to say this: there was that I noticed there was a drop off in animation quality in episode 6. In episode 6, sadly, yes, a drop in animation quality. There were stiff body movement. There were still frames, and there's was one frame where there was a pink smoke, and you will see the way that it will part and dissipate into the wind, and it did not look natural. I won't say amateurish because I don't know anything about animation, but it just didn't look natural. It didn't look to a certain, at least to a certain standard. It didn't look good. No, and sadly, yes, not only episode 6, but I wouldn't say necessarily a drop off in animation. It's more like a change in visual presentation. In episode 10 and in episode 11, you could see that there was a change in visual presentation because either the storyboard or the animator obviously changes throughout certain episodes, and yes, it got a little bit too artsy fartsy for me. Episode 10 was fine, but in episode 11, the person who did the animation or the storyboarding in that episode went a little bit too far. Very went too artsy fartsy with the whole visual presentation. I didn't like it. Maybe if it was that way from the beginning, from episode 1 all the way to episode 12, it would be one thing. But just a sudden change like that, it just maybe that just didn't sit right with me. It wasn't awful. It was just only a couple of scenes here and there throughout the episode, but it was very distracting whenever the visual representation shift abruptly towards me. I didn't like it, but I did enjoy the anime. It was very cute. I did like the characters. Like I said, if you like Kimi ni Todoke, you are most likely going to like this one. But I'm going to say, even though that it did remind me to Kimi ni Todoke, I will say that it reaches that exact level of quality. I would say like if Kimi ni Todoke to me is a 9, sadly this one is a couple inches lower with the score that I'm going to give right now. So let me just give it. To me, Honey Lemon Soda is a 7. A 7 out of 10. Now, most likely it could have been an 8, but with the drop off in animation quality in episode 6, or was it 7? No, it was 6. It was the whole school festival, the whole maid cafe scene. But yes, the also because there was the way the visual presentation in episode 11 was structured. I also didn't like it. What was way too artsy fartsy for my liking. It was very abruptly, very different from the other episodes before it. So yes, it dropped to me to a 7. But still do recommend it. One of, not the best, but a very good romance quality anime that I can recommend to people if you're like me that like romance anime. So I'm going to leave it here. So have a good day, have a good night, wherever you're from, and see you next video.